Thanks to the support as a channel member, Matthew Wally. Well, despite turning our form around in the second half of the season, that spell we had while the FA Cup was going on has absolutely ruined us. Chester have been absolutely dominant, and now we head into the playoffs, having to play them on the final day. They'll already have over 100 points by then, and we just need to somehow find a way to get past them and not have our morale ruined, which is not an ideal situation to be in, considering my playoff record, Brackley's playoff record. I urge you not to look up either. Hello and welcome to part 15 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our final two games of the regular league season. We're at home against Gloucester, away against Chester. And since you're last with me, we've played a lot of football matches. And as you can see, we've won most of them. There are a couple of defeats in there, a couple of draws in there. But by and large, this form since December, really, is the kind of form you would expect a title-winning team to have. It was just this little spell here has cost us, and it's not even that we've had a particularly bad season. Win our final two games, we end the season on 96 points, but could conceivably still be in third place. It has been a very competitive promotion race in the National League North this season, and we need to go into the playoffs in the best form possible to have any chance of, I guess, getting past Scunthorpe, who presumably, if all goes to plan, it should be us versus Scunthorpe in the final, you would think. I mean, Scunthorpe could potentially still win the league if everything falls apart for Chester, but that seems quite unlikely. We're playing Gloucester, who are one place below us first. Then we're away from home against Chester on the last day. There have been a couple of transfers since the last time you were with me. We brought in a striker to replace Evans, who went back to Scotland. Ziga Klemencic is an 18-year-old Slovenian under-21 international who's actually really good. He's got 5 goal contributions in his first 5 starts for the club, averaging a 7.24. Expect to see him playing today. He is in great form. We also brought in Tom Lavery, who is just to provide some extra cover for us at centre-back and right-back. We've not really used him, but he was free, so we brought him in. And then Ashton McWilliams is basically the Mark Little replacement in the squad. We got down to effectively one usable right back, so we brought Ashton McWilliams in. Didn't expect him to be a goal a game right back, but there he is. 4 games, 4 goals, a 7.38 average. He's quite good. He really is really quite good. So expect to see plenty of him as well. So this is the team for the game against Gloucester. We've got Dadge in goal. Dadge has actually stayed in goal since coming in on loan. We never brought Blackman back in again when he got fit. Despite Dadge only being 5'9", I'll whisper it because he is a Northampton player, but I think he's probably a better goalkeeper. I think Blackman might be moving on in the summer, regardless of what league we're in. So Dadge starts in goal. A back four then of Murray, Tozer, Davies and McWilliams. Ewing at the base of the midfield with Devaney and Knight ahead of him. Bramall on the left, Cabia on the right, and Klemencic up front. These games are kind of meaningless in so much as they're not going to make a difference to where we finish the season. We're almost certainly going to finish in third place. We might make it to second, but realistically, the way the playoffs are structured, there's not really any difference between finishing second and third. The first round of the playoffs, 4th plays 7th, 5th plays 6th, and then the winners of 4th versus 7th, I think, play second, and 3rd faces the winners of 5th versus 6th, and then you get the final. So we're going to miss the first round of the playoffs regardless. We can't win the league regardless, but as mentioned, having played a lot of playoffs over the year, I know just how crucial it is to go into them in good form. And these are not ideal matches for us to have as our last couple of regular season matches before the playoff starts, because they're easy banana skins. And if we go into the playoffs having lost a couple of games, even if there are a couple of games against the likes of Gloucester and Chester, we do not stand a chance in the playoffs. And that is not the ideal start to the game with all of that. Bearing all of that in mind, Gloucester going 1-0 up, and Gloucester are in better form than us. They are probably the form team heading into these playoffs, and for them to catch us the way they've just caught us, it's a long way from ideal. We're going to go attacking. Cabby has got a corner here. We might have an immediate reply, and it's McWilliams who's trying to get on the end of the corner again. McWilliams, by the way, 6'5", and you can't teach that. That's why he's such a threat from the set pieces. 19 jumping reach. He can't really head, as you saw there, but every single corner that comes in does hit him. It's just a little bit of a coin flip which direction the ball goes in after it hits him. But as you've seen by his goal return so far, it hits him often enough and goes in the right direction for him to be getting a goal a game so far. And Klemencic is on a goal contribution a game as well, and that's his 4th goal. It's a little bit harsh on Hall that he's lost his place, but Klemencic has been brilliant. He didn't jump straight into the team, but once he got his spot and started being even more of a goal threat than Hall was, we're a really good team. It's really frustrating that we had that wobbly spell, because we should be the team there on 100 points. We should have been promoted automatically this season. And it feels like a missed opportunity that we haven't been. And if we end up having to have a 3rd season in the National League North, which based on my playoff history and Brackley's playoff history is the most likely outcome, but if we're stuck in this league for another year, I will feel a little hard done by, and we'll be having a little bit of a glance at the job centre just to see what might be available for me to maybe make the leap. Because frankly, I've overperformed for 2 seasons in a row here at Brackley, based on board expectations. Okay, I kind of just about met expectations in the league last year, but we did well in the cups. We did, we're viewed very positively by the Brackley board. I should be managing in a higher league at this point. Hopefully we take Brackley up a division and we can have another season with them in the National League and see how we get on. But if we don't get promoted, it is non-league to legend. I've got 1 more year left on my deal, but I'll have a look. I'm not desperate to leave, but I'll definitely be having a look. Right, 2-1 down. We are demanding more, and fingers crossed we can just not drop the points, not pick up the terrible form. I can't emphasize enough how important morale and momentum is going into playoffs, and Gloucester have it all at the moment. So it's not just a case of we need to keep ours going. We need to throw a spanner in the works of theirs. That's a lovely early cross. Unfortunately, no one is alert to it. As a red-green colourblind man, I thought we had somebody in there, but it was actually the defender coming in to cover. Klemencic, once again, not able to win the ball in the air, but he's a big boy as well. He's 6'1", 6'2". We've got, with these players we've brought in on these most recent loans, we've got some tall boys in the squad now. Knight plays it out to Cabia, whose first touch takes him past his fullback. It's a lovely touch from Cabia. Plays it out to Bramall, who first time plays it into Klemencic, whose physical presence causes all sorts of problems for the goalkeeper. It drops to Ollie Ewing and he smashes it in from the edge of the area. But huge credit to Bramall for the first time cross. Huge credit to Klemencic for basically taking the keeper out of the equation. And then it was a relatively easy finish from range from Ewing because everyone else is distracted. It takes a big deflection along the way as well. 2-2. We're going to stay attacking because we need to win. A draw here at home, not good enough. We need to damage Gloucester. We don't just want to struggle along to a draw. We want to damage Gloucester as well as part of this. And they have got the ball and they are trying to build something up from the back. But if we could just take it off them and go and do a goal of our own, that would be super duper. But they seem to be dancing past McWilliams with relative ease there. Although he has got himself back into position to defend again. We get the block in, and Dadge is really not covering himself in glory today, is he? I promise you, he's been quite good. There's a reason we didn't bring Blackman back in, because Dadge never really let me down. He might be letting me down today. Gloucester have had 4 shots and scored 3 goals. We're going to bring Lavery on to play right back. McWilliams is shattered. We'll bring Morehouse on in midfield. That's another easy change to make. Connor Hall to come on is another one that you should probably expect to see in the very near future as well. But first, we have a corner. It's unfortunate that McWilliams has gone off, but Davies is there. He says balls to McWilliams. I'll have my 9th of the season. 3-3. If this is the kind of football we're going to deliver in the playoffs are going to be bonkers. 3-3 though, 15 minutes to go, and now we dust off Connor Hall and get him onto the mix to give him 15 minutes to go and try and find us a winner. Klemencic comes off, Hall is on, and we're going to stay attacking. We're encouraging the boys. Can Hall force his way back into the starting 11 for the playoffs? Because that's really what we're playing for now. We're playing for starting positions. Is it going to be Knight? Is it going to be Morehouse? Is it going to be Hall, or is it going to be Klemencic? These are the kind of battles we've got going on. At the back, is it going to be Davies, Tozer, Drummond? We've got options in all of these positions. Dadge or Blackman? We've got options in so many different positions that one poor performance or equally one really good performance can change everything. It's Tozer with a... Where's the long throw? I mean, Cabby has turned the guy inside out there. We've confused them by not doing the long throw, but then also not bothering to work it into the area and just wasting it with a long shot from a defender. But I thought we were going to getting Tozer hurling a missile into the 6-yard box there, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, he decided not to, and it is going to end 3-3. I mean, it was entertaining stuff, but it doesn't do Gloucester any harm at all. It doesn't really help us. And if we look at the form table, which is always a good indicator of who's going to win the playoffs when it comes down to it, last 5 games, Scunthorpe, I think, are in, aren't they? Yeah, Scunthorpe had the team up in second place. So Scunthorpe looking very, very strong. Gloucester looking strong. I mean, we're there or thereabouts, but we've got to go and play Chester now. We've already won the league. We've got to go and beat Chester or else we're going to be ruined. And in the spirit of what I was just saying, we are changing a few things around. So Craig and Drummond are going to be together at centre-back. I mean, really, this is probably our best combination. Maybe our best combination. We are going to leave Klemencic up front. But if he doesn't have an outstanding game, Hall might be back in for the playoffs. We shall see. But Chester... already over 100 points. We've had to give them a guard of honour before the match. No one wants to see that nonsense. We're 11 points behind them at the moment. They don't care anymore. They've already got the League One, so hopefully they've put the reserves out and we can just go and rattle 2 or 3 goals past them and send a message to everybody else in the league heading towards the playoff. McWilliams is there again, and it's 5 from 6 for him now. 6'5", 19 jumping reach. What a useful boy he is. I mean, it's a shame we picked him up so late in the season, because if we'd have had him all season long, he'd have got 30 goals for us. But now we've picked him up as late as we have. We won't be able to get him next year because Football Manager in recent years doesn't like you re-loaning players you've already loaned, even if they've had a successful spell and they're still not going to get in the team of their parent, into the team at their parent club. It's a frustrating thing because all logic would tell you McWilliams has come in and had a phenomenal loan spell with us. We're getting the best out of him. He's only just turned 18. He was 17 when we signed him. Let us have him for another year. And I think in real life, that's exactly what would happen. He certainly wouldn't be taken back to his parent club and not used. The only reason he wouldn't come back to us is because they're loaning him to a higher division, which I don't think he's ready for, or they're going to play him, which I don't think he's ready for. They'll take him back, refuse over and over again to loan him to us, and then he'll go out on loan to someone who finished mid-table this year. And there's just no logic to it, but it's how Football Manager does it these days, and that's good work from Klemencic. He's done really well there, turning the defenders inside out. Cabia to Murray, who's got forward. Klemencic is in again, and that's why he's starting ahead of Hall. I think the flag is up, but I mean, the movement, we talked earlier in the year about wanting a combination of Evans and Hall. Klemencic is that. He's got the pace of Evans. He's got the finishing of Hall. He is the complete package. He's another one who's very, very young, and it's a shame we'll only ever see him for like 5 matches because he was loaned in. So that is wonderful work from Murray. You would struggle to believe that's his first ever goal for us. What a first season he's had in professional football. He takes the corner originally. Cabia gets it back and then cuts it back with that little inside pass to Murray, who takes one touch, goes round his man and smashes it past the keeper to make it 2-1 to us. We've had 2 shots on target and scored them both. That's what I'm talking about, boys and girls. This is the kind of, I mean, they've had 1 and scored 1. So apparently goalkeepers don't exist in this universe. But importantly, we're in the lead away from home against Chester. And this is exactly the kind of message we wanted to be sending on the last day. In an ideal world, we'd have been coming here today needing to beat them to win the league. It didn't quite work out that way. They were absolutely relentless. So were Scunthorpe, who were probably going to finish on over 100 points as well, which is absolute madness to not get promoted with over 100 points. But we feel very hard done by to be third on over 90. But can we take this performance into the playoffs? It's got to be the plan, hasn't it? Klemencic, once again, getting himself into a good position, can't keep his header down, and it is now half-time. 2-1 to us. They've made 2 changes at half-time, so they really don't care, do they? They're just trying things out. They know they're in the National League next year. We, on the other hand, still have a lot of work to do to get there. That's good work from Bramall. It's 2-on-2. Bramall releases Klemencic. Can he get past that final man? Oh, he cuts it inside to Knight, who ran forward from the midfield. It was a great run from Knight. Great vision from Klemencic to see him. But unfortunately, on this occasion, Knight doesn't have the finish. But can McWilliams grab another one? Cabia with the corner. That's where he's aiming. And unfortunately, head like a 50p piece, it just comes off at random angles. This time, it went basically straight up in the air, but he is a threat every time we get a corner. It's a lot of fun. It's madness that he's a right back, because he doesn't want to play as a wing back. He is an out-and-out right back. I think if he was my player, I would absolutely be turning him into a centre-back. He's 6'5". He can't really attack, so let's make him a defender. But we haven't got time to give him a new position. He's only here for the next, hopefully is it 2 or 3 matches we'll play in the playoffs? I think it's just a one-leg semi-final, isn't it? Right, Coker is coming on. Cabia's going to go on to the left. McWilliams is shattered again, so Lavery can come on for him. And we're also going to take off Murray, who's tired. Craig can go out the left back. Davies can come on. 3 changes with 20 minutes to go. It does mean Connor Hall doesn't get to come on, but it's more important to take off the players who are struggling a little bit for fitness. We've got the playoffs to think about, and Hall will be ready for them. Coker plays it back to Lavery. Devaney to Knight. This is more good football from us. Knight from range tests the keeper, but the keeper passes the test, which is not ideal. Scunthorpe look like they're going to finish on 99 points in second place, which is... I'd be quite upset as a Scunthorpe fan. Drummond plays it over the top to Klemencic again, who first time cross, looking for Coker, can't find him. Knight's in an enormous amount of space, though. He does cut it back to Knight, and then tries again, aiming for Klemencic. It now falls to Devaney, who plays it all the way back to Davies, and I suspect the move is over, although the highlight isn't. Devaney, with a nice little turn, charges into the area, slides it across to Klemencic, who has a sensational first touch. I think he's offside again. Oh, but what a touch it is again from Klemencic. He's this close to being like a League One player. He has got quality oozing out of him. He just needs to learn how to stay onside. One of my old nemesis from Twitch, Charlie Caton, who I think is the top scorer in the National League North this year as well. He's just quite good. He was my nemesis when I was managing Penabont in Wales a couple of years ago. He would constantly score against us. Cabia, lovely work from him. Cabia, oh, what a goal. 12 for him now. Been a little bit of an unsung hero because Bramall and Beckham have mainly been the starters in the wings. Cabia has kind of been first reserve for both. But considering he's first reserve, to get to 12 goals, he's still only 18 years old. That is wonderful work from him. And what a goal. I tell you what, we're a good football team. I know Chester don't care today, but we've come here and made them look very, very ordinary. Probably their reserve team, but shh, don't tell anyone. This is the confidence booster we needed going into these playoffs. We're now going to be higher up that form table than Chester, who we don't need to worry about because they're not in the playoffs, but I haven't seen how Scunthorpe are doing. I haven't seen how Gloucester are doing. If we can be top of the form table going into the playoffs, I might actually believe, which is a mistake, because we all know what's going to happen in the playoffs. But, you know, we can believe briefly. I like a little bit of belief every now and again. And it is Chester on the attack again. Drummond hacks it clear. I say hack, it goes directly to the feet of Klemencic, who holds it up nicely, plays it into Knight, and now Knight finds Devaney, who plays the ball over the top to Klemencic, brings it down on his chest. It's a lovely finish. He finally stays onside. He has been a constant goal threat throughout the match. 100% deserves his goal. It is now 100-point champions Chester 1, Brackley 4. Bring on the playoffs. We are ready. And that is a lovely finish. We've got a very exciting young team going on at the moment. And I'm ready. I'm ready for the National League with these boys. I wish we could get I wish the loanees would come back. But, you know, maybe if we get promoted, we'll be able to offer some permanent deals for some of them. Their managers might be idiots. They might not realise what they've got. Evans, for example, is available on a free transfer. Doesn't want to discuss terms with us because we're too small for him. And we did try and bring him in permanently because obviously being in Scotland, we could offer him a pre-contract. But he's out of contract. I'd take him permanently if I was offered him. I'd really, really like Klemencic and McWilliams permanently, but we shall see, I guess. Maybe we'll be able to get them on loan again because they were here so briefly. especially if they end up being pivotal towards getting us promoted. Oh, Dadge makes the save. It says denied by crossbar. I'm not having it. Dadge makes the save. And I think we are going to run out here 4-1 winners. What happened with the other playoff rivals? Gloucester have won their match. I can't see what Scunthorpe have done. I think Scunthorpe were on course for 100 points, though, going in. So I think Scunthorpe have lost, which is huge if they're going into the playoffs on a defeat. Knight into Coker. Coker trying to add the 5th. It's one last corner for us. Can we put a cherry on top of it? No, we can't. We don't even get to take the corner. Annoyingly, after that, Chester now do their trophy lift, which nobody wants to see. Let's get out of here before a trophy lift happens. And now we get to, in fact, we don't find out who we're playing in the playoffs because there's other matches that have to take place first. Just tell Matt Derbyshire he's not good enough. So what happened on the final day with Scunthorpe? Scunthorpe beat Telford. Okay, so it's Radcliffe versus Chorley, Gloucester against Spennymoor. I think we play the winner of Radcliffe and Chorley. I think. I'm not quite sure. Let's just check the form table. We won't be the form team, which is a shame, but we might be close. Only Scunthorpe in better form than we are. They've won 5 from 5. They are the team to beat. I predicted them in the final anyway, so we need to figure out a way to beat them by tomorrow. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.